Hey guys, how we doing? Probably just gonna wait a little bit, see if we get some more people in here. Oh, look at that, we got nearly 10 already. That's not bad. Can people hear me all right? Let me know if you can hear me okay. Just gonna wait a little bit, another couple of minutes. Just make sure we've got the angle right for you guys. Well, how's that looking? Yeah, it looks about right, doesn't it? No one's saying you can't hear me, so I guess that means you can hear me all right, hopefully. Hey guys, who we got? Joe, how you doing? Melbourne, 6 a.m. Joe, man, thank you for getting up early for me. Fair play. Who else we got? Peter, good afternoon. Paul, how you doing? Marianne, Marlene, sorry, I think that is. Hey, how we doing? Stefan, Andy. God, man, I can't say their next name. I'm going to call you Matt. I hope that's all right. Chris, how we doing? Good to see everyone coming in here. Terry, sounds good. Thank you, man. Cheers from Midwest US. Nice. I've been to the US a few times. I don't think I've ever been anywhere that you would class as the Midwest, though. Matt will do. Thank you, man. I'm sure I've probably butchered that name, but yeah, it's cool to see it with that like alphabet like that. So, thank you, Matt, for for accepting my poor pronunciation. So we've got like a couple of bits just to let you guys know. I've got like a slight go slow thing on. I think it means you can only text something once in like 15 seconds or something like that. So it's not really restricting you guys, but it just means that it's going to stop anybody else like spamming the same question in there and stopping you guys getting your chat in or anything like that. Got you guys set up and do something different. I'm streaming on my phone up here just to kind of see how that works, and then I've got the laptop open down here so I can see the chat a little bit easier, so I can see the questions. Rob, how we doing, man? Good to see you in the chat, man. I hope you're well. Rob's in our Facebook group. We've been we've been on live chats together numerous times, but not one for too long actually. Rob, I'm sorry about that. I hope you're doing well, man. I've seen loads of your photos coming out on Instagram and stuff. They're looking good. It's good to see some of that work you're doing, man. It's lovely. So look, we'll let this just roll a little bit. What we got? 15, 16 people in there now. That's not too shabby, right? That's okay. So cool. So look, I guess we'll start. I don't know if there is a start with something like this. So look, a bit of a Q&A, right? Any kind of questions you guys have got, fire them into the chat there. And in between time, I'm just going to fill you guys in on a little bit of some of what I've been doing, some of what's kept me busy, a little bit about why you've seen a couple less videos over the last sort of couple of months. Some of you won't have noticed it too much because there's still been like at least a video every 2 weeks, but it's been a little bit slower. That's because I've been pretty busy doing some other bits, but I'll let you know about those as well. Let you know about some of what I'm doing photo-wise. Let you know about some of the things I'm working on. Camera-wise, what cameras am I using right now and why? Maybe we'll talk a bit about the R7, stuff like that, right? But any questions you guys have, just fire them into the chat here as we go. And I will try my best to get through them as quick as we can. Cool. It's funny, what I'm watching here on the screen is slightly slower than you guys here, so it's like I'm learning it as I go. Couple of questions starting to come in. Awesome. Don't worry, I will get to them, guys. I just thought I'd sort of let a few of them get in there so we can start to chat as we go. Some good questions as well. I like some of these questions. Good, good, awesome. So look, I tell you what, actually, gentle start. Let's go with some of these questions. Somebody asked a question right up the top that I saw when I first came in. Mike Measure, if you're still there, man, I hope you are. You said, what's meant by lens having like X number of elements and then in numbers of groups? I mean, look, I'm not like a lens technician, right? But in very simple terms, elements means almost like kind of pieces within the lens. So, a lens will have like different bits of glass and different elements of glass that, that receive the light and bend the light and everything like that. Each one of those would be an element, and then some of those might be grouped together. So, for example, if it had, you could have 6 elements within the lens, 2 of which are then grouped together. That would then be like 6 elements in 5 groups, if that makes sense. So there's different views on it, I guess. In very simple terms, some people would say like the more elements the better, but that's not always the case, because more elements can do things like do funny things with light or cause more lens flare, and there's much more scientific explanations than my one. Maybe someone in the chat knows more about that, but that's a very brief version of what it is, right? Stefan saying, have you used the denoise setting in Lightroom, and what are your thoughts? You haven't used it yourself, Stefan. So yeah, I use it sometimes. Haven't used it loads. What I would say is I'm fairly basic when it comes to kind of denoise or trying to reduce noise when I edit photos. If I have a photo that is heavily noisy, like, especially back when I was using like my 72 and I was having to shoot like, 6,400, even 8,000, I would sometimes use it a little bit, and but only a tiny bit, and I don't use it much, because the trouble is, and that you guys have used it, when you turn that slider up too far, it just makes your photo look cartoony. It's not a good look at all. There are some much better ways if you really do want to reduce noise. What's that? Topaz, is it called? Something like that. I've actually never used it. I keep thinking I need to get hold of that and make a video about it where we can test it on the channel and see what it looks like. But I've just never got round to doing it. There's a couple of guys I know, again, in the Facebook group who I think have used it a fair old bit. So I can't remember if it was Marcus in the Facebook group. I can't remember. That's someone who's in our Facebook group has used it quite a bit. I think they use it fairly well in conjunction with their R7, and they've got some good results from it. So yeah, denoise. Paul, are you going to get the R6 too? If you watch that video where I talked about like which R camera was better, whether it was the if you want to use the R3, R7, R5, R6, R6 II, I talked in that about the fact that I probably wouldn't get the R6 II, and I think I still stand by that now. My simple view is I think the R6 II is great. Yeah, it's better than the R6 in some areas, but I don't think it's that much better. So my suggestion would be, like, if you're somebody who's got the R6, I don't think the investment to jump to the R6 II is necessarily your best step. For me, I think I'm going to stick with my R6, and then when I do upgrade to something else, maybe I'll try and jump past that to like an R3 or something like that. In the meantime, the investment and the money it would cost, even if I sold an R6 to replace it with an R6 II, I don't think that money difference is worth the amount of upgrade that you get. It's better, no doubt. Look, it is, and in fact, some people in the comments talked about some of the bits. Bit of fluff in my face. Some of the comments talked about some of the bits that perhaps I wasn't aware of with the R6 II that are better. But for me, I wouldn't jump straight in and upgrade to it. No. Terry, how do you secure your gear when you move around the pitch or stadium? Good question, man. So it depends entirely on what I'm doing and where I am, right? In some places, my gear is so like when I do some of my basketball stuff, where I'm working for the team, my gear is stored in like the little kind of media area that we have. So I'm pretty, I know everyone is in there. I'm confident enough. And even then, what I'm leaving is just like my spare camera, so my 72, my accessories, things like that. I'm not leaving anything of any real value. When I'm at like football stadiums, if I'm just moving like a little bit, like maybe I'm walking down slightly to take photos of warm-ups or something, I'll have one camera with my 400 on my monopod. I'll have the other one normally on my strap. So what I'm leaving behind is basically just like an empty bag and case. So there's not really anything of any value there. But if ever I am leaving anything, or I'm going any kind of distance, what I've got is a big old bike lock. It's one of those like reinforced cable locks, and I have it just tied around the handle of my wheelie case. And so then when I need to, I run that through the handle of the wheelie case, through both the handles of my backpack, and then I lock it onto whatever's there, like, a support for an advertising hoarding, a post, anything. And look, would it stop somebody with a pair of bolt cutters or something? No, it wouldn't. But that said, look, if somebody gets as far as being like pitch side with a pair of bolt cutters trying to steal my camera bag, that's not got that much in it anyway, then there's probably bigger problems in that stadium than than me getting my backpack nicked. So, I reduce the risk wherever possible. I've got one of those like laptop cable locks, which I use on my laptop. If ever I've got to leave my laptop anywhere, I plug that in and then I put it around the leg of the table or whatever's there, to try to keep it as secure as possible. But a lot of the time I make myself mobile. So what I'm leaving is just like my empty bag. What else do we have? Peter, where's your spot to photograph soccer? I think you mean mighty football, Peter. So football, soccer. So it varies a little bit. I routinely always would have answered this question by the corner flag. And I think if you're starting out shooting football or soccer, the corner flag is generally a good place to aim for. Players a lot of the time will run towards a corner when they celebrate. It might well be that they, to the left or to the right, but generally they normally head towards the corner. So a corner is a good place to be for stuff like that. If you're on the end line near the corner, you get players running straight on towards you down the wing. You've got the goalmouth action just across from you. You get a good combination. And if you're working with like a 400mm or a 300mm paired with like a 70 to 200, those two ranges get you good from there too, because your 400 or your 300 gets you down the pitch. Then when players get close towards you, you switch to your 70 to 200. That covers the corner near you. It covers all the goalmouth action really nicely. Lately, on the back of watching, I think Mark Curtin answer this question in one of his videos, he was saying he always goes on the end line near where the penalty box comes into the end line, the touch line on the end of the pitch. And so I thought, oh, okay, interesting. I'll try that. And I've tried it a couple of times. And actually, I quite like it because players who run towards the corner for a celebration, you normally get them like in front of you or coming past you. You're a little bit closer into the goal. And what that gives you is when you're shooting goalmouth action and you're kind of shooting like slightly tighter angle across the post, it's a bit easier for you to get like the goal and maybe the back of the goalkeeper in the action as well as the players in front of the goal shooting. And I quite like that because if you're too far side on, you either have to have a really wide shot to get both, or you just have a player shooting and then without the goal you lose some of the context. So I've quite enjoyed that. That's been quite a good change. But it's a bit of both. And I would say if you're starting out, I would go with aim anywhere near the corner. In real busy stadiums, so if I go and do, and in fact I've got something at Wembley coming up soon. I've got one of the playoff finals, which is really, really exciting. I'm looking forward to being back at Wembley. I have found when it's busy and there's maybe 50 80 photographers there, rather than me piling in the corner where I'm sat next to Getty and all those big photographers who have massive distribution channels behind them, instead I tend to go and sit on the sideline down near towards the corner. Because what you get there is you get some side-on goalmouth action. You get the centre of the pitch, celebrations that come towards the corner. You'll still get them and you get a slightly different angle on them. And also it's giving you a different angle to all those other guys who are sat on the end line. And so I do some of that sometimes when I'm in real busy events, just so that I can give myself a bit of space and get myself a different angle to everybody else. Because sometimes when you're sitting next to all those big agency photographers, Getty, AP, and all those ones, giving yourself a chance to get something slightly different or a different angle can be beneficial. Because if you're not going to get the same photo as them and just get it out later than them because they've got such a great distribution channel, well, you know what? Get something different from them. And how can you do that? You sit somewhere else where they're not sitting. Got some questions piling in now, guys. Nice one. Keep them coming. I'll work through them all as we go. Oh, Lenny saying Topaz photo AI is amazing. Nice one, Lenny. There you go. I thought it was called Topaz. Good to see that. It's good to see that that people are saying that works. Nice one, Lenny. Philip Peters, do you shoot sports in RAW ever or use JPEG to send off quickly to clients? Good question. So probably like 80-90% of the time I was shooting JPEG. Mostly because of what you've said, not just sending them quicker, but processing the images quicker. So everything from importing them into the laptop, the previews, loading, the quick edit, exporting them, all that process is quicker with smaller files, JPEG files. The post-processing is quicker and there's less to do as well with JPEG files normally. So as long as you get it right in camera, JPEGs are good for all that sort of stuff. So I use those a lot. I will sometimes use RAW, especially if I'm doing something a little bit different. Like I did a game just recently, actually, where it was the stuff from the game that I was photographing was mostly going to be used for marketing purposes. So because of that, I shot everything in RAW, because that was going to give me bigger files, high resolution files that I then had the ability to give to the guys I was working for, where they could blow them up quick, because some of them were going to end up on like billboards and large scale advertising. And so in that situation, I shooted RAW because I didn't have any pressure to send images live during the event. They were needed afterwards. And so then the benefit there for me was to do RAW. Joe, you got judo coming up Sunday. Nice. Some areas are darker. Yep. Indoor sports. How do you quick adjust the air to avoid? Oh, so you've got some areas darker than other areas. Okay, cool. There's a couple of different ways you can do it. So I tend to do either one or two things. If it's varying loads, like if it's, if like here, this angle is one level of darkness, here's a bit different, there's different again, over here's different again. If it's changing all the time, I tend to get one of my settings into automatic. So that could be I shoot in manual, set my shutter speed, my aperture, and then I have like my ISO as auto. So it will just adjust as that lighting changes. That's one of the things that's the easiest thing you can do, because then it will just change and you don't have to worry. If I have a situation, which I get when I do some of the Fulham youth stuff that you guys have seen me talk about, they have in the corners, they have some real dark areas, but it's fairly consistent. It's pretty much the pitch is kind of one level of lighting, but in those corners, it's a bit darker. So what I tend to do then is I expose for the darker area. So I'll be set up in my camera with the darker area. But I do that with a shutter speed of like 12/50th of a second or something like that. And then as players are in the lighter area, all I've got to do is one turn of the shutter speed hang on, I might have said it wrong. So I've exposed for the lighter area, and I'll have my shutter speed set at like 12/50th of a second. So as the player goes into the darker area, all I've got to do is one quick turn of my shutter speed, drops to 1,000th or 1/800th of a second, and that extra exposure gets me in the dark piece. As they come out again, I've just got to turn it back and I'm back to where I was. So I make it really easy for myself with just like one quick turn of the dial, or I just stick my ISO in auto and let it crack on. If I'm during the day, and the ISO levels won't be too high anyway, like some football pitches have shadow here and not here, then I use auto ISO quite a bit, because I know it's not going to be too high. It would jump between like ISO 100 and ISO 400, something like that. So I'm not too worried. It's not going to suddenly give me like 20,000 ISO, and I've got a really noisy image. So that's how I deal with that one. I hope that makes sense. Alex, how you doing? I'm just getting started in sports photography. Good for you, man. I'm shooting my son's lacrosse games. Awesome. Look, some of the best types of photography, right? Shooting your kids and stuff, playing sports. I have an R6 Mark II. Cool. If you heard me just now say it wasn't so good, it's a great camera. I just mean if you've already got an R6, it's maybe not worth going to an R6 II. If you've got the R6 II, good for you. What are the advantages of using a third party, disadvantages of using a third party lens with the adapter mount? I mean, look, there's not really any disadvantages specifically of using the third-party lens. The adapter mounts work really good with the R series cameras. You know, if you're using like the EF lenses on there, for example, fantastic. Most Sigma lenses are really good as well. So, you know, the only difference is that in some cases those third-party lenses aren't quite as good as the you know, the same brand lenses. So for example, like the Sigma 300 2.8, it's a great lens, but it isn't quite as good image quality wise as you know, the Canon 300 f 2.8. So that's the biggest disadvantage, you know, and that's reflected with the price, right? You know, generally when it comes to lenses, unfortunately, it kind of is a case of you get what you pay for. But it doesn't mean that if you pay less, you're getting something that's really bad. It just means you're getting something that's maybe not quite as good as the better option. But my experience of lens adapters is that they work really well with the R series cameras. Chris, currently got a two-body setup at football, which you have also. I do indeed, man. Do you ever think about going forward? This will be phased out at the top level. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So, like, you mean maybe, like, you wonder if maybe as lenses get more advanced, people might not need to. They might just be able to get away with like some of the real variable ones. I mean, yeah, look, I think there's a lens out there now that's like 28 mil to 300 mil. Is that right? So somebody in the chat maybe let me know. Like, am I imagining that, or is that right? I feel like it might be right. The problem is with those is, of course, they are variable aperture lenses, which means, you know, as you zoom in or out, the aperture changes from like f4 to f7.1 or whatever. So then, of course, in daytime it's fine, in darkness not so good. And what it also does, as you get that wider depth of field, it doesn't crush your backgrounds. And sports photos, especially when players are running like in front of crowds and stuff, those kind of like crushed blurry backgrounds look really cool, and you don't get that with a lens that's not f2.8. But as technology changes, and I believe there is already, I think, a 100 300 2.8, in fact that's the lens you've referenced in your question, you know, that problem starts to disappear. And, you know, look, I imagine as technology adapts, look, maybe it won't be long before we see something like a 70 to 300 2.8. Look, maybe we're going to see a 70 to 400 2.8. And then you do really get that question, right? I think you'd still want the second body for backup purposes in case your first body was to go wrong or break down or something. But your point around would you need that switch? Yeah, look, real good point, right? It'll be really interesting to see how that develops over the next, well, I was going to say a few years, maybe less than that, right? Maybe next couple of years. Some of you guys, if you haven't seen it, I've done a video where I tried shooting a game with just a 100-400 during the day. And I got some great results with it. I came away from that thinking, you know, boy, maybe this is the future. So I guess in line with your question, then yeah, maybe that is the future. Jacob, have you ever photographed cricket before? So man, so I have. I do some university events where any of you guys who've seen university sport here in the UK, you know, they have days where you have like every different sport happening at the same time. So through shooting those, there are very few sports I haven't photographed, and in fact, a friend of mine, Darren, who's he's on the channel sometimes. I don't think I've seen him in the comments today, but he came to shoot that with me, and I know he enjoyed that aspect of shooting all those different sports. And so because of that, I've shot most sports somewhere along the line, but I haven't ever shot like cricket on its own. So I've never gone to like a professional cricket game and just shot the whole match. I really want to do that. I might try and do that this summer. Another guy, I keep referencing the Facebook group. If you guys don't know about the Facebook group, it's basically something that anyone who joins our Patreon page or our Facebook, or membership on the YouTube channel, I'll invite you to come in and be a member of the Facebook group. So check that out if you'd like to. Got some real good guys in there, and John, one of the guys in there, shoots cricket all the time, works with Leicester Cricket Club quite a lot. Really good cricket photographer. So maybe I'll see if I can hit up John to go shoot some cricket in the summertime. What else we got? Ben, how does the market for selling for running photography in England work? So it really depends on what kind of thing you're doing, right? If you were to go shoot like a high-end athletics event or something, it would probably work the same as any other sport. So if you're there for an agency, they would distribute for you. You probably would get a certain percentage of each image sale. You could get contracted by a magazine or something who probably would then pay you a set fee to go shoot the game. It really depends quite a lot. Where a lot of photography, and I do some of this, I've done videos of this on the channel, is they work with agencies where they send you to shoot games. Quite a different type of photography, because you normally will go there, just shoot the game, get loads of photos of all the different runners, and then you just send all the images into the agency you're working for, and they do all the distribution. I quite like those sometimes. They're just nice little events that I do, and it's a company that I've worked with. Epic Action Imagery is the company, and I work with them sometimes. Good little events that they do. So in those events, they pay me a set fee. I turn up, I shoot the whole race, and just give them all the images, and then they take care of all the sales and stuff. Of course, that means I don't see any money from the sales. I just get paid to shoot the event, but sometimes that's good. That works for me. Gary, Rob, what sort of salary do you get with football? Man, that's a real tough question to answer, right? Because it varies so much. Like, you can get paid anything from 0 to hundreds of pounds, and by that I mean you could go shoot a game on spec for an agency, and if you get unlucky and you don't sell anything, you'll get 0. You'll get paid nothing at all. Sometimes that's a good place to start out. Some of those agencies shooting on spec, they'll help you get into lots of events. You can grow your portfolio. You can take loads of cool images. Other events, you'll get paid a set fee to go and do it. And so it's funny. Sometimes I will go and do a Premier League football game on spec or on commission. And then I'll go do an under-18s game where someone will pay me a set fee to go shoot that under-18s game, whereas I'm working on commission for the Premier League game. So I'll come away from the under-18s game with a good bit more money than I did the Premier League game. So look, it varies quite a bit, but I couldn't really put figures on it. Look, obviously, I'm sure you guys appreciate I can't tell you how much I charge some of the clients who I work with all the time. That wouldn't be appropriate. But look, if you were before now, I've shot a football game for £50. If it was like a local football team and maybe there's someone I knew and I'm helping them out, I'd say, yeah, 50 quid, I'll come and do the game. Right the way down to where I did a big event, where I did it on a commission, and then afterwards we got contacted separately and I sold some images and they got used on a big website. Just that one game I probably got, I don't know, all in maybe £500, something like that. But that's not often, unfortunately. Right, what else we got? R1Q exposures. Hey, from Finland. Hey, man, it's awesome. Look, we got people in here from all around the world, right? This is what I love about this YouTube channel. People from all over the place. So, hey, how you doing, Finland? God, I need to start catching up here, right? Christian, let's say you took 700 photos during an event. How long do you need for post-processing? So if I go shoot a football game, I might quite easily take 700 photos during that game. And by the time we get to about 10 minutes after the final whistle, I will have processed everything I'm going to process for that game. But I'm not sending 700 photos. I might take 700 photos in the game and then send a set of 50. And I would do those live as I go through the course of the game, sending them in all the little stoppages or quiet periods. Then it kind of for 10, 15 minutes after the game, I'll go through my set and I'll send anything else that was good. If you mean literally like I had 700 keepers and I was sending them all, God, how long would 700 photos take me to end? If I just sat down in front of Lightroom, 700 photos, a few hours, I suppose. It's a rough guide. It really depends, right? If they're all outdoors and the light was all good, sometimes I stick my preset on them Quick time to plug my presets if you want to. Go on my website, guys, robsamblesphotography.com. You can download my presets. I have a free preset in there you can download. I've got other ones you can check out if you're interested in looking at the paid for ones. But there's a free one, which I use all the time, by the way. It's not just like a rubbish free one. It's actually a good free one. So go check that out on my website. You can download it for free. Sometimes I have a set of images, I stick that preset on them, and actually all I need to do is go through a little tweak of the highlights or something on each image, and in 10 minutes I've done 100 images, right? That sometimes will happen. But 700 images a few hours, I'd have thought. Pedro. Oh, don't make me say that, I'll embarrass myself. What is it? Noite, maybe? I'm guessing, what's that? Good evening, good night, something like that. Hey Pedro. I'm going to go with hey Pedro. Andy might get thrown out. Why can he get thrown out, Andy? No, man, a Nikon DS4 is a decent camera. Don't be silly. Thinking about upgrading current Sigma 7210 to a Nikon. Cool, yeah. 400%. So man, I'm going to struggle. So, you know, I might leave other people in the comments to help you answer that question. Anyone help out Andy who's familiar with those lenses? I'm not familiar with them, so I'm not too good on the value of them. A version 1, a version 2. A version 2, so like if I was talking about the Canon equivalent, 700 quid would be a fairly good price. I'm not familiar with the Nikon ones. So anyone else who is familiar with those, help out Andy there. Christian, greetings from Germany. Hey, thank you, man. Good to see Germany in the chat. Thanks for all your videos, man. Thank you for watching them all. I appreciate that. Matt, sorry, man. I'm back to calling you Matt again. What's your solution for photographing in high contrast? Half stadium is bright. Okay. Okay, so Matt, that kind of is the same answer as Joe, I think it was, who asked about the judo. So I'll do exactly the same thing. When it's during the daytime like that, where you've got bright sun and then shadow, I tend to just use auto ISO, and I'll set my shutter speed, set my aperture, and let the ISO take care of the shadow and the bright lights. Bright sun, though, in itself can be a challenge. I've just seen Pedro come in and say good Portuguese further down the chat. There you go, Pedro. I had no idea I could pronounce a Portuguese word. I think you're probably being kind to me there. I think I probably didn't pronounce it quite as I should have done, but thank you. So yeah, Matt, so when you're shooting into bright sun, I tend to try and position myself so that the sun is either behind the player or straight on the front of the player, because when it's side on, you get some funny old like contrast halfway across their face, right? So I could probably do, like, in fact, so I've got a big light here to light me for this video. You see, like when I turn my face like this, I'm bright here and shadow here, right? The brighter that light is, the darker this shadow will get versus the brighter this will get. And it's the exact same thing with sun. So what I tend to do is to try and get myself face on. Because if you get a photo of somebody's face onto the light like that, the whole face is exposed, right? Whereas if they're right face onto the shadow, so like if I was over here, then my face is all in shadow. Of course, what that then does, it means your background's either going to be much brighter or much darker. So you have to then play around with your highlights and shadows in post. Bright contrasting sun is always a tough environment to shoot in. Metering mode, I just use evaluative pretty much all the time. ISO might be auto. White balance would be auto. The other thing you can do is exposure. You've mentioned exposure compensation. Yeah, you can do that. So you can have it as sun goes into the shadow, you can bump it up slightly. But I don't tend to do it quite that way. Right, what else we got? Chloe. Hey, Chloe. I shoot some football games for free, but I don't know how to make money with photography. Do you have any advice? So look, check out my video. I made a whole video about how to make money from photography. And one of the real simple things I said in that video, which in the comments was one of the bits that seemed to ring true with a lot of people. Cliffhanger whilst I have some drink. And that was quite simply charge people money. It's sometimes too easy to go and shoot things for free. And yet sometimes, and you mentioned building a portfolio, there's benefits of shooting for free. To build a portfolio, things like that, absolutely there are. But sometimes you've got to go and shoot for money. You know, if a team wants you to go take photos, yeah, great, of course I can. But here's how much it's going to cost. You know, if they don't want to do that, then chances are you are never going to make money from that event or from that team, and there'll be others that will. And you know, look, it's not easy. It's you know, I've talked about this in lots of videos. Making money in sports photography is not easy, but there is money to be made in sports photography. People sometimes go, oh, there's no money to be made in shooting football. And think, well, yeah, if you want to try and turn up to a Premier League game once a week, shooting for commission, and make yourself a full-time wage, yeah, you know what, you're probably not going to. Whereas if you have the foresight to think, okay, well, sports photography is very varied. That includes school events, university events, local teams, you know, agency work. There's all kinds of things you can do to make money from sports photography. And there's also all kinds of different types of photography, right? I don't just photograph sports. I'll do events. I've done, you know, like kind of party night events. I've done school events. I've done loads of stuff that's not sports related. And, you know, sometimes, look, if you want to be a photographer, sometimes that's what it is. It's about being a photographer, not just a sports photographer. I've done videos on this channel here where I did like air shows and motor shows and stuff like that. And I used to do one that I talked about in a couple of videos. They used to do every year, and unfortunately it ended. But that was a really good one too. There's loads of different things that you can do to make some money from photography. But go check out the video. I made a whole video on it. I think I literally called it "How to Make Money from Sports Photography." Gary, do I recommend any agencies? So look, there are so many agencies, right? It really depends. The best thing you can do is Google some. I would start to look up the agencies. There are some of the bigger agencies that will just take loads of people, right? You know, lots of the agencies that people start out with, you know, I know, I think Mark started out with like Action Sports, Pro Sports Images is one that's all over the place, but it really depends. You know, there are some agencies, like the agency I work for has a lot less photographers. You know, we only have, I think maybe like 10, less than 10 even maybe. I work for Focus Images right now. I used to work for an agency called Frozen in Motion, which stopped operating. And it really varies. But the biggest thing that you can do is just Google some, right? Go and Google agencies that are out there, and then go from there. So it's not really about recommending agencies. All different agencies have their pros and cons. You just gotta find one, chat to the guys, and you know, when I was looking for a new agency, I got in touch with like 3 different ones. 2 of them came back to me and had a chat with me and said, "Oh yeah, we're interested in working with you." And I just got a real good feeling from having a chat with the guy who runs the agency that I'm working with right now. You know, when I looked up other photographers who only worked for the agency on like Instagram and stuff, they seem to be getting on all right, and so I went with it. And you know, you just gotta, it's so much about like relationships and stuff, right? You know, you gotta enjoy doing what you're doing. Matt, yeah, you're in auto ISO all the time, but it's not always spot on. Okay. Yeah, it's never going to be spot on is the answer. When you're in those tougher shooting conditions, like bright sun straight into dark shadow, yeah, man, look, it's never going to be spot on, right? That's the challenge of doing what we do. And that's why being good at the post-processing part of it, you know, the editing part of it, stuff like that, is going to be equally important. Because that's the stuff that helps you get, you know, get your image from being all not quite spot on to getting it to a great standard is the post-processing. Stefan, how do you approach it? Okay, okay, so kind of a roll-on question from my previous one. Do you approach agencies and clubs during the closed season to get gigs for next season? Really depends. I don't, so right now I don't really like go out and approach new places in the off season, because I have a lot of the same people I work with. So I have a football club that I work with every season. Sometimes there's a little conversation around, hey, do you still want me next season? But you know, I've done it for a few years, so I kind of assume that they do, until at some point they'll maybe tell me they don't anymore. I work for a basketball team that I have done for years, so we will normally just kind of, sometimes I do stuff for them in the off season, like marketing shoots, training shots for social media, photographs of kit launches and stuff like that. And then we're ready to go for the time the season comes around. If you're not working with an agency and you want to try and get into one, yep, the off season is a great time to approach them. When I was looking for a new agency, it was the off season. It was before the season started. Real good time, because when I started working for them, first thing they said, and sensible thing for them to do, by the way, I wasn't offended. They said, "Hey, look, will you just go shoot a game for us just so we can check your process and everything's all good?" I said, "Yeah, of course I will." Went down and shot a pre-season friendly. I think it was at QPR. I did that just to show them, yeah, look, I'm not just making it up. I do know how to use Photo Mechanic and Lightroom and file transfer things and bomb, and they saw I could do what I needed to do. They liked the photos, and we went from there. So the off season's a good time to approach something. Yeah, definitely it is. I think I caught up on questions. Chris up there, 70 to 400 2.8 would be a game changer, man, wouldn't it just? Yeah, it really would be. If I missed any questions back there, feel free to stick them back in the chat again, guys, so I come back round to them. So look, let me tell you what I've been up to, right? Why have I been so busy? Well, a few different things. One of the things that I decided to do a few months ago, and I talked about this on the channel, I had been going flat out for a period of time, and I started this channel properly. I've run this channel for years, but I started this channel properly, like videos twice a week, and proper setup, and made myself a little space to shoot them in lockdown. And as I came out of lockdown, I was really going for it. The channel was flying, growing subscribers. Photo jobs were getting busier. I had loads more work to do, and it was tough. So I was working all day, every day, doing jobs and editing videos and filming videos. And I thought, God, you know what? I really enjoy making videos, but I haven't made a video like purely for myself for ages. So I decided to go off and make some videos about something which I am really interested in and really passionate about, and that's history. So I went and made some history videos. Then I thought, I need to put these videos somewhere. So I made a second YouTube channel, and it's called History in Your Hand. If you guys you haven't seen it, go search. I'll stick it in the chat. Go search History in Your Hand on YouTube, and that's my second YouTube channel. And I started doing that, and it took off pretty quick, right? We're already at like 7,000 subscribers on that channel. That channel also has a Facebook page that has like 20,000 subscribers nearly on Facebook. Like 25,000, I think, on TikTok. It took off really, really quick. So that's kept me busy because I've been doing both. And I know you guys are thinking, what? We're not interested in that one, like work on this channel. And don't worry, I'm not going anywhere from this channel. But that's just kept me a bit busy. So I've been doing a little bit of both. I want to try and make YouTube sustainable. So, to help contribute towards my income, because it takes a lot of time. Sometimes people don't realize making a video takes a lot of time. Sitting here doing a live video with you guys now will take, what are we at, 43 minutes. We'll get for another however long period of time, videos end and job's done. But when I'm filming a video, I'll film it for maybe an hour, then the editing process is hours. So to get a video up is a long time, and that takes a fair bit of time, and I need the channel to grow. And so when I talk about things like comment and like the video and subscribe, and consider my Patreon page and consider being a member of the channel, all those things are because I want to be able to invest more time in making great videos for you guys, and that's a strain on my time, which in turn creates a strain financially. And so I've got to make it work as a business model, and running 2 YouTube channels is helping with that, no doubt, but it's still a challenge. So whilst I'm saying that, so if you haven't already hit the like button, do me a favor, please do. We got 27 something people watching this video, and we've got 9 likes, so it'd be good if the rest of you guys could hit the like button, because that helps. You might wonder, why does it help? Well, it helps the algorithm for YouTube. It suggests that my live stream, when it goes live onto my channel as a video, that it was half decent, it was good, and people enjoyed it. And if you get a load of views and not many likes, YouTube thinks, oh, people didn't really like that video, so we're not going to promote it anywhere, and that makes the video struggle. Same with subscribers. If you have people who aren't subscribers who watch your video but then they don't subscribe, YouTube thinks, oh, well, the channel's obviously not so good, and so it doesn't promote the videos, and so on and so on and so on. So that's why myself and every YouTuber will always say, guys, do us a favor, hit the like button, subscribe, comment below, because that helps loads. You know, and you know, look, joining up to Patreon or joining as a member of the channel, that piece just helps me financially to support the channel. You know, I invest all of that money straight back into making videos, really. So I that's not like a profitable enterprise, but it helps to support the channel. Right, what do you have? Joe, you shoot sports for free. Is it's a hobby and you enjoy it? Because you know I'm not 100% pro. I make money from my regular day job. Yeah, cool. So, man, look, you don't have to do photography as a professional, right? You know, if you're doing pro level work, then look, charge people though. You know, especially if you're investing time and money into doing it, and especially if you're getting into more sort of pro level events, charge people. You should do. So look, what about cameras? So what am I shooting with? So yeah, I am still right now primarily shooting with an R6 and a 1DX Mark I. Those are my two cameras. R7 has been thrown in there a few times, don't worry. I'm still in the process of making videos about that. I've already made two, which will go live on the channel soon. I want to launch them as a series, so I want to make sure I've got at least 2 or 3 of them filmed ahead of time. With another, I think I'm going to have 5 videos about it coming all together. So I want those to. Oh, I can see loads of you guys have hit the like button. Thank you. And I want to have those ready to go. So there's going to be a whole series coming on that. I know I'm a little bit behind the time with an R7, but it was hard to get hold of, and so on and so on. So that'll be cool when we get those coming. What are you guys going to see about the R7? Well, I'm going to compare it with the R6. It's one thing I got asked to do, and people might go, it's not comparable because one's full frame and one's the crop sensor. Yeah, it's true, but people want to see those two compared, so I'm going to do it. The other one, which is actually, I think, really interesting, and I've started to film this one, and it is really interesting, which I think you guys would like to see, is I'm going to compare the R7 with the 7D Mark II. So that one's coming. That'll be cool. Then I've got, like, testing the R7 for sports. Does it hold up in a professional sports photography environment? And spoiler alert, I think it pretty much does. Until you start getting into the real darker settings, that's then harder when you get into some real low light. Cool. Whoa, okay. R1KU exposures. Do you have any other sports photography YouTubers to recommend? Yeah, cool. So yeah, look, so look, you guys know, right? I get on with Mark. Him and I we never met in person, but we're online mates. We've done videos together a few times, stuff like that. We're hoping to get together in person at some point and make a video real soon. So of course I'd recommend his channel, not just because I'm mates with him, because he has a real good channel, right? Really great. You know, and if there you go, look, Andy's saying his channel is good too, because it is actually a great channel. But there's other people out there, right? A couple of the guys who started sports photography channels started, I think, and then kind of fell off the wayside, which I get. You know, it's tough growing a YouTube channel, and I think you have to go through a period of time. And sometimes that's like years of it struggling and low views until you start to learn what works, like thumbnails and titles and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes you just got to grind for a period of time. And I think some of the other guys who started sports photography channels found those a little bit disheartening. But there's channels out there. You know, I did like a reaction video just recently to Billy Weiss channel. That's cool. I've enjoyed watching that one. That's good. But you know what? Actually, nowadays, more and more people, it's not like I was a pioneer or anything, but I probably was one of the first sort of few people who started doing proper like sports photography focused YouTube videos. And so when I started, there weren't too many, but there's a few of them out there now, right? If you go and just search sports photography on YouTube, you get a load more stuff come up than you used to. I'm always pleased to see there's a few of my videos creep into the top view when you search sports photography on YouTube. But there's a few others out there now. You search sports photography, you'll get quite a chunk of them come up. So look, we've been going for like 50 minutes nearly, guys. So we'll probably do like another sort of 5 minutes or so. So if you've got any questions that you want me to try and get before I round off in a minute, I'm stretching off here and getting stiff. Stick them in the comments and I'll try and get through them in just a minute. Jacob, what sports do you not like photographing and why? I don't not like photographing anything, but because look, I just love photography, right? So I like photographing anything. I won't say dislike them, but I struggle photographing sports I don't know as well. So I've shot rugby, for example, and I don't know it as well as a game. I've watched some. But because of that, I found it harder to anticipate. And, with basketball, I almost find myself moving with the ball because I know what's happening and I know what players are trying to do and I can anticipate stuff. I shoot rugby and I'm anticipating, oh, hang on, and I wasn't ready for it. And I found that a lot when I shot netball. I did the Netball World Cup and I shoot some netball sometimes. And that's tough too because you'd think it would move like basketball. No, it doesn't. It moves so differently. And so when you're trying to anticipate what's going to happen, you get it wrong, and then that's annoying. So those kind of sports that I don't know as well are frustrating to shoot sometimes, but I really enjoy them. And in fact, I then almost enjoy the challenge of learning how to how to do it. Right, what else we got? Hello from Algeria. Look, another country coming in. Awesome. Got you guys from all around the world. Thank you for joining. Thanks for this live. No, man, thank you for watching. Do you use in-camera HDR settings of sports photos? Honestly, no, not for sports. I don't. I've played around with them when I've been doing like landscapes and stuff. But no, to be honest, for sports, I just leave those be. And I do stuff like that in post. Is the honest answer. Riku, I'm going to call you Riku. Riku exposures. Yeah, I've seen many channels fade away. Yeah, it's a shame, right? There are a couple of other channels out there. Pedro, who had a channel for a little while. I've forgotten what he called his channel. It was something different. But he made a couple of cool videos, but I think he got frustrated with sort of the lack of success. Ben had a channel. In fact, I appeared in videos for both those guys, but yeah. Red Sass. Love your channel. Thank you, man. Go on, need some drink. What case do you use? So a couple of different bits. In fact, you can see, where is it? That way. Got my case in the background here. It's like a Pelican wheelie case. Which is a good one. I also use a Think Tank backpack, which is it's in the other room, and I use the Amazon Basics roller case. In fact, if you look in the description of this video, go down there. There's links to all the cases that I use. So go and check those out. You can look at them for yourself. Terry, how do you mark or tag a key photo? So for me, I use the lock button. So I go through the photo on the back of my camera, I press the lock button, and then I use Photo Mechanic, and I have Photo Mechanic set, so it only imports the locked photos. So then when I put that memory card into the laptop, it only imports the photos that I locked on the back of the camera, which means then when I'm live in a game and I've shot 100 images, I can go, yep, those 4 are the ones I want, into my laptop, bang, bang, only shows me those 4 photos, edit them, caption them, send them, and that's how you work quick. If you look at my videos, that are called things like workflow and so, in fact, I need to update those videos. I will do a new sports photography workflow video really soon on the channel. That'll be coming. Joe, recently got a 6D to replace. Cool, yeah, nice, man. That'll be a step up for you from the 700. Use it as a backup 600D. Cool. Okay, nice. Oh, sorry, man. Okay. Oh, case settings. Sorry. So I tend to use case 1 all the time for everything. Right. Honestly, that's what I do. But I have done some videos where I tested all of them. What did I call it? I think I might have called it which case is best. If you look back and through my videos, it was a while ago, a couple of years ago probably, but I did one where I tested all the different cases to see what kind of results you get. And spoiler alert, go watch it because it's quite a cool video, but spoiler alert is I kind of decided they all seem very comparable, so I just used case one for everything. Jacob, thank you. No, man, thank you for watching. I appreciate you joining, right? It's cool. When you do these kind of things, it's pretty good to do. Andy, got to bring the horses in. Man, that's a cool thing to go and do. I'm going to go and eat some food and have a drink. You're going to go and bring the horses in. Fair play, Andy. Man, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. And in fact, you know what, look, guys, I think that's probably a good time, actually. So, look, thank you all for joining. Thank you for being part of this. You know, it's always cool when I do these because it means I can just interact with a group of 20 or 30 of you, a bit more close knit, and answer some questions, and that's always cool to do. So look, thank you for joining. I'm going to try and do these once every month actually, so get back to doing these once every month, so at least, you know, we get a bit more interaction, you know, on the go. If you do have any other questions that I didn't get to, this video will go live onto the channel as a video. Add your questions into the comments and I'll come back and I'll answer the questions in the comments. Sometimes it's crazy. Look, my channel's not huge, but sometimes I get hundreds of comments, and so, you know, and some of you guys might have experienced this. You'll ask a question and I don't get back to it in time, and you know, and it's hard to keep up. But you know, when I do these videos, I'm always conscious that people might have had questions they didn't get to ask. If you have a question, put it in the comments of this video and I'll come back and I'll check it out and I'll answer it 100%. Terry, man, it was awesome. Thank you very much for being here. Guys, that feels about right. Thank you very much for joining the live video, and I will see you all soon on the next one. Guys, thank you very much. Let me work out how to end this live video right here. I think we do it right there. There it is. Guys, thank you.